Hey everyone, come join me. I have your weekly real estate update for the Winchester area, and we're going to talk about seller closing costs. So people always think about buyer closing costs when you are buying a home, but there are a few things you need to pay for when you are selling your home as well. So we're changing things up a little bit. I am going to be coming to you live on Tuesdays, and Brianna is going to be coming to you live on Wednesdays to discuss buyer issues. So let's get started with your update. So the past 7 days in Winchester and Frederick County, we have seen 32 new listings, 32 houses close, so we kind of replaced those. But we've seen 21 more price decreases, so we are seeing the market continue to slow down. And we have 24 homes that actually went off market. So they either expired without selling, or the sellers decided that they're done right now, they're just gonna take it off the market. And then the last one, we had 12 homes come back on the market. So that means either they were taken off temporarily for some reason and they came back on, or they were under contract, that contract fell out, and so they came back up for sale. So that's your kind of a quick little overview. Again, we are still seeing things really slow down, especially in the upper price point. So let's talk about seller closing costs. So first, obviously, you have your commission. That's probably going to be your biggest one. That is negotiable with your realtor. So I'm not going to say that there is a typical commission in this area. I can tell you what I charge if you want to discuss things and what marketing we do and all of that. But that's going to be your biggest kind of closing cost. And then you have prorated taxes. And in our area, we kind of pay taxes ahead of time. So you may actually get a refund, kind of, from the buyer. So you both pay prorated. So let's say you just paid your taxes in June, you decide to sell in July, you paid those taxes from June to December. Well, technically July to December, when you pay them in June. So what happens is at that closing date, they will prorate how long you have been in the house. So if you were there the full month of July, you pay those, and then the buyer pays from August to December. So since you already paid that up front, you will actually get a credit on the net sheet. So the buyer will pay that portion back to you, essentially. So those will be prorated. If you are behind in your taxes, anything like that, you're gonna have to pay them at the end. Typically, that's going to be in the contract. So then you have your deed prep. That is on the seller side in Virginia in our area. It's usually between $50 and $80, so not too crazy. And then you have your settlement closing costs, and that is essentially all of the work that the title company or the attorney is doing to get you through the closing. You have your side, and the buyer also has that on their side as well. So you can choose your title company or an attorney, whoever you want to do the closing. You do not have to choose the same company as the buyer. It is totally up to you. And so you can shop around prices. They're pretty, close here. There's not too many that are like crazy low or crazy high. You're looking at between $600 and $800 usually for closing costs in this area. Okay, and then you have typically the termite inspection. This is, the buyer can decide to do it themselves. Depending on the loan, they may not be able to. If they're using a VA loan, they cannot pay for the termite inspection, so the seller has to. In our area, generally, the seller is paying that, and it's between $40 and $60, so it's not crazy. Those are pretty much the closing costs on the seller side. You don't have as much as when you are buying a home, but you also need to remember that especially under $200,000 and even over, quite often in our area, you may be asked in the contract to pay part or all of the buyer closing costs. And those are going to be generally a lot more. So think 1 to 3% up to 6% of the sales price, depending on the loan program and the fees that they have. So they can negotiate that. So if you agree to pay part of their closing costs, you're also going to have to pay your closing costs. So I will get sellers sometimes that are kind of upset and they're like, I'm not going to pay anything else. You have to pay your side of closing costs. The buyer is not going to pay that. So if you want to sell your home, you are going to have to pay those. So again, commission is your biggest one. We can do, and of course paying off your mortgage if you have a mortgage, that's probably the largest one. So we can do a net sheet at the beginning when we get an offer to kind of see what you would be getting after all of these costs. That's easy to do, even if you want to find out if it's worth selling for you right now. If you kind of bought a couple of years ago and you're not really sure, I can run a net sheet for you based on the offer that we think we would get, so you can kind of see what you would net, and especially if you need that to move into another house. So reach out if you have any questions, but those are the general selling costs. So you're looking between $1,000 and $1,200 on average, unless you are, like I said, behind on taxes, behind on HOA fees, anything like that. If you have any liens on your home, those are going to have to be paid off at closing, judgments, anything like that. So if you have those situations, we can go over and kind of figure out what you're going to end up with afterwards. So if you have any questions or if you are thinking of selling, please reach out. And Brianna will be on tomorrow discussing whether or not you can still buy a home with no down payment. So she's going to be going over those options for you. And then I'll be back next week with another seller's video, some issue that you have. So please reach out, and I hope everyone has a fabulous Thanksgiving. So I will see you in a week. Bye-bye.